Hi everyone, welcome to today's video. Today's video is about learning Pandas for beginners. So Pandas is the most popular Python library for data analysis. It can be used on any platform where Python is installed and running. It can be used on operating systems such as Windows, Mac OS, or Linux. It can be used on any integrated development environments, such as IDEs like PyCharm, VS Code, or interactive notebook environments such as Jupyter Notebook or Google Colab for data analysis. So to start, like I said, you need an IDE. Choose an IDE, either VS Code or a notebook like Colab or Jupyter Notebook, and then make sure Python is installed and running, and then use this line to install Pandas, pip install Pandas. After that, to start your code on your code file, on the file where you are writing your code, you need to include this line at the beginning, import Pandas as PD. This is how you will be able to use Pandas. So you would typically start with the following line, import Pandas as PD. PD stands for Pandas, of course. Now, there's a lot of things you can do with Pandas. After you include the line in your file, you can now create data, for example. There are two core objects in Pandas, the data frame and the series. Let's start with data frame. Data frame is a table. It contains an array of individual entries, each of which has certain corresponds to certain rows, certain records, correspond to rows, of course, and columns. So it's like a d-dimensional table. It has rows and columns. To create a data frame, we need this line of code. So df, which stands for data frame, equal pd.dataframe. Notice data frame is capital D, capital F. This is how you should write it. Then parentheses and curly brackets. This format of writing is used for dictionaries. So inside here, we need a key and values. The key will be our column, the values or the names we want in our column. The values will be the entries we want to record in the rows. We will see in the next example how this works. So for example, consider the following simple data frame. In pd.dataframe, we have yes as our key, first key. Notice if you know Python, this is a dictionary. We have a key, we have values. Yes, between question marks, single question mark, and the values have to be in between brackets. And then another column with no name or title that has values 131, 2 inside the brackets, and then curly brackets and parentheses. This is a dictionary. This is how we write a dictionary in Python. So when you run this code, you will get the output as a table that has yes column and a no column, and then a zero row and one row. So the way we read this is the zero no entry has 131 as a value. The zero yes entry has a value of 50, and so on. This is an example of how to use Pandas in VS Code. So after you import Pandas as PD and make sure Python is installed and running on VS Code, then you include this line, df equals pd.dataframe, then your dictionary of data, like I say, key and values. You can add values. You can rename the key to longer name or shorter, whatever. Then when you print the data frame, this is what you see in your terminal, a table like this. So data frame entries are not limited to integers. For instance, here is another data frame whose values are strings. We can use strings as values instead of numbers, integers. So in this example, our data frame is pd.dataframe. Our dictionary is Bob. Bob said, I like it. And then the second value is it was awful. And then another key, Sue, which is our column, the second column, that has two values, two entries of two rows. So Sue said pretty good and blend. So when you print this line of code, the output will be this data frame or this table with two columns, Bob and Sue, and two rows labeled 0, 1. So 0 Bob entry is I like it, 0 Sue entry is pretty good, 1 Bob entry is it was awful, 1 Sue entry is blend. So this may be a survey about food, different kind of food. So the first food, Bob said I like it. For the second menu or the second plate or the second dish, Bob said it was awful. So this is the table outcome of this line of code. The dictionary list constructor. So this is called the dictionary list constructor. This line of code in Pandas, it is called a dictionary. I said we use dictionary format in Python. So it's a dictionary list constructor assign values to the column labels. Assign values to the column labels, but it starts with 0, 1, 2, 3, like we saw before. If I go back, I don't know if I can go back. No, I can't go back, but we saw before, instead of product I, product B, we saw 0, 1. This is a label, the column labels. We assign values to column labels by just using ascending account from 0 and so on. For the row labels, right? Assign values to the column labels just by assigning ascending count. For the row labels, in every row it's named using 0, 1, 2, 3, and so on. Sometimes this is okay, but sometimes we will want to assign these labels ourselves and we won't give it names. The list of row labels used in the data frame is known as an index. This is called index. We can assign values to it by using an index parameter in our constructor. So in Pandas, which is very good thing to as an ability to have is this constructor. We can add parameters to make things better, to refine, to manage, to reshape the tables. So by adding index equal product A, product B, then now we're naming the tag, the row tags, product I, product B, as you can see here, just by adding this line. Now let's move on to series. A series, by contrast, is a sequence of data values. If a data frame is a table, think of a series as a list. And in fact, you can create one with nothing more than a list. So let's create a series of numbers. So pd.series, this is what we use to create a series. This is our constructor. Then parentheses, and then brackets, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, what we want in our series, or oranges, bananas, whatever we want in our series. So when we print this, like we said, Pandas assign labels to rows, so we will have this line, which we can change by adding index, like we saw before, and then we have our list listed here, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And what's good with series, it adds data type. And here the data type example, it's integer 64. So if we run the whole thing, give us 64. Like this, we can add 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, and just 64, for example. You can add as many numbers as you want. These are the series. So a series is, in essence, a single column of a data frame. So think of a data frame as like a bunch of series bunched together, right? So you can assign row labels like we saw in data frame, to the series the same way as before, using an index parameter. However, a city does not have a column name. It only has one overall name. So like we saw here, a city only have one column, but it has the index. So we can assign the index after we write our city, our constructor for the city. We add name equals product A, for example. This is the name of our the whole thing. For indexing, we added index sales, 2016 sales, 2017 sales. We named the sales by year for the index, the row index. For the name, we don't have columns. We only have one, so the name we added at the end will print at the end, just like that. Product A. If we want another city, it will be product B, but we will be another constructor, not the same. So this is the difference between series and dictionaries. So the city and the data frame are intimately related. It's helpful to think of a data frame as actually being just a bunch of series, like I said before, glued together. Just imagine a lot of series. That's a table. Okay, reading data files. Now, in some case, we can just create our data by hand. It's handy, it's easy, like we saw before. But this is in case the data is small. Now, imagine we have millions and thousands of rows of data. In this case, we cannot create the data ourselves, but we can import the data from other files. And most of the files, like the more known file that is used, is CSV file. So being able to create a data frame or city by hand is handy, but most of the time we won't be creating data by hand. Instead, we will be working with data that already exists. Data can be stored in any of several different forms or formats. By far the most basic and known CSV file. You get something like that if you have a CSV file. Product A separated by comma, always separated by comma. Thus, the name of CSV file, it's comma separated values. Every value in CSV file separated by comma. But can you read the data like this? We need to know to transform the CSV into data frames so we can read it, easy to read and easy to understand. So in this case, let's now see what a real data set looks like when we read it into a data frame. We will use the pd.read underscore CSV parenthesis, open and close parenthesis function to read the data into data frame. This goes like this. So load CSV, how do we load CSV? Data frame equals pd.read underscore CSV, then file, the name of the file has to be inside the parentheses and single quotes. So let's say we have data frame that's named wine underscore reviews. This is the name of our data frame. Equals pd.read CSV, and this is the name of our CSV. Let's see what we can do. We can export data by adding some functions like data frame that head function, data frame that info, data frame that describe, etc. Let's see what what these functions can do. We can also use shape attribute to check how large the resulting data is. So if we add shape to the wine review, we just add wine reviews that shape to our constructors before, we can end up with this outcome. So we have 1,900,971 of rows and 14 columns. So we have 130,000 records or rows across 14 columns. This is like almost like 2 million entries. So in this case, you cannot write every one by yourself. You can use coding or pandas to create the table. So So now let's see another function like we mentioned before. We mentioned data head function. So binary view, it's the name of our data frame. That head will extract or will display the 5 first rows of data, so we can see what's in the data in the file. We can examine the contents of the result data frame using the head function. Uh, uh, and which grabs the first 5 rows. Okay, so that's the function, that's the meaning of the head function. We will grab the 5 rows, and since it starts from 0, the indexing starts from 0, so we see 4, but it's actually 5. If we count this 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, it's 5 rows of the data, so we can see how it looks. And then we have another function. So here, let's read this. The pd.read_csv function is well endowed, which means we can add parameters to that structure to manipulate the data. With over 30 optional parameters you can specify. For example, you can see in this data set that the CSV file has a built-in index like we saw before, which Pandas did not pick up on automatically. To make sure Pandas use this column for the index, instead of creating a new one from scratch, we can specify an index underscore column. So if we add index underscore column equals 0, we're telling Panda that the indexing starts from 0 instead of just creating something different. And then when the view head, this will give us the 5 first column of data. I don't think, okay, I will stop the video here, and in the next video I will adjust this because it's kind of cut off where I don't want it. We lost some data, we lost some writing here, like the code is not complete, so I cannot continue it like this. I will fix it and then I record another video, so follow me for the next video to see what we can do with data, to see more functions, how to manipulate the data on big data frames like this.